Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Exciting week coming up this week with Microsoft Build. A couple of things happened last week to tell you about as well. And also I'm going to be in Europe for the European SharePoint conference. So lots of things happening. Let's get into it. The first thing I want to tell you about is a new release, a big new release actually, for the Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code. So you're probably already aware of this. I hope you are if you're building Teams apps. I hope you're aware of Visual Studio Code and the Teams Toolkit for it. There's a new version that's out for Visual Studio Code 5. There's a couple of big changes to this one. This is a major release, so there are a couple of big new things that are worth talking about. I think the biggest one of all is some flexibility and some insight, if you like, into some of the automation that goes on inside Toolkit, making it easier to work with Microsoft Teams. If you've experienced that, where you can use Visual Studio Code to create a new Teams application, you can debug it right from within Visual Studio, and it does all sorts of things in the back end. You can deploy it, you can provision it in the cloud, which is great and gets you up and running very quickly. But it can sometimes feel a bit like a black box, right, where you don't really know what's going on. There's now all that stuff still stays, but there's a kind of additional visibility, if you like, into what's going on, that automation process using a YAML file which you can control. So you can, let me show you the blog post actually. So here you go. So this is a blog post that Microsoft put out on their Microsoft developer blog. And in here, you can see that you can create a Teams app.yaml file. And in that, you can literally kind of tell the automation what you want to do. There's all sorts of things. And it's a really nice way of building up a recipe, if you like, of what you want to happen around provisioning, around deploying. It's kind of cool. The nice thing is that when you go and create a new Teams application using the Teams Toolkit, it's going to create one of these YAML files for you so you can see what's inside that black box. You can see all the things that are happening and why they're happening. And so hopefully that removes some of the kind of mystique, if you like, of what on earth is going on when I press F5 or I press, deploy or whatever, or provision, which is really, I think it's really cool. So this is cool. There's a whole list of the different actions that are available on GitHub. There's other stuff in this release as well. This kind of built-in tunneling for bots, which is cool. Being able to build an Outlook add-on directly from in Visual Studio Code. It's kind of a lot of this stuff you'll be aware of if you've been keeping track of the point updates, because they've been kind of coming along over time. But some of this stuff is brand new. Code spaces is interesting. So yeah, lots to dig into and a big new update release for the Teams Toolkit. So that's worth getting a hold of and kind of trying out and playing with, because the Teams Toolkit has really, really evolved over the past year or so, I'd say, and it's really kind of stepped up in terms of features. So kind of really good to see. I expect we'll see some more. I don't know that we'll see more announcements about this at Build, but I think we'll see more detail about it at Build, and probably some demos, and you'll be able to kind of see, the people behind the toolkit, kind of showing it off and showing you how to use it, and get some tips and tricks and stuff. So look out for those sessions. We're going to talk about Build sessions in a bit, but look out for that at Build. Speaking of Build, the Azure Communication Services team have put out a blog post talking all about which sessions you should go and watch at Build if you're really into Azure Communication Services. I think this is really useful. I love it when product groups do this because it really helps surface, amongst the thousands of sessions, or hundreds anyway, of sessions that are at Build. It really helps to kind of provide some clarity on, okay, if I'm really into this product, what are the sessions I should go and see? And that's exactly what's happened with the Azure Communication Services team. They put together this, Connect with Azure Communication Services at Build blog post, and they've highlighted 6 sessions that really focus in on Azure Communication Services, which is really helpful. So this is good, and there's full details. Some are labs, some are kind of introduction, some are kind of deep dives, and yeah, it's really good. And so I like it when product teams do this. This is cool. So yeah, thanks to the Azure Communication Services team. And so I wanted to pass it on to you so that if you want to get up to speed with what's going on with Azure Communication Services right now, and there's some AI stuff in here as well, AI infused omni-channel communications, AI assisted communication workflows. So interesting stuff. All right, let's go to something that is brand new and that is on the Microsoft 365 roadmap that I haven't written up anywhere. Again, you're getting this early because I only just saw it, and it is probably something that might be talked about at Build. I don't know, but it's just popped up on the roadmap in the last couple of days. And that is a new export API specifically for Teams control messages. What are Teams control messages? They're things like user being added to a chat, user sharing history, those kind of things. They're activities, they're events that happen. They're not the actual messages that happen in a chat. They're all the control stuff, right? Users leaving, users joining. There's going to be an API for that stuff, an export API. And so it will be able to provide a way for organizations to archive those comings and goings, if you like, those control messages. It's meant for compliance archiving, I guess. So it's coming. It's got a rollout start of June 2023, so it's coming quite soon. It's currently marked as being in development. I don't know what rollout start June 2023 means because often they have a GA date, and this is not a GA date, it's a rollout start. So I guess you could roll it out to one person in June and then do nothing for 3 years and then roll it to the rest of everyone else, but I hope that's not what they do. I will say I would expect this to fall under the chargeable APIs, as it is an export API. So I would expect it to come under that umbrella. But if this has been something you've been wanting and waiting for, just be aware that it is coming. I mean, is it on the roadmap, so you can now kind of track it and look for it. But again, I suspect we may see something of this at Build. Let's talk about Build, and then we've kind of talked about it a few times already, because it is coming up this week, and it is on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week. Which is it's going to be busy. There are around 400 different sessions. Traditionally it's Microsoft Developer Conference, and so it always has that kind of developer focus, that developer angle to it. Whereas Ignite tends to be more of the IT pro focus conference. So that's just kind of how they differentiate it. There is quite a lot of crossover these days, to be honest. But yeah. So yeah, like I say, there's a ton of sessions. The nice thing is that the sessions are all out now, more or less. I think they kind of change them all the way up until the day, and even sometimes once Build starts, because some information gets embargoed until the keynote, and so you have the keynote and then like a bunch of sessions open up. But more or less, you could start to plan your day or your 3 days. Lots and lots of, I think the vast majority of the sessions are recorded and available on demand, so you don't have to watch them live if you don't want to. You can sort of add them to your backpack, and then you can watch them on demand later, which is great. It's sort of helpful, especially if you're trying to sort of attend a conference remotely. You know what that's like. It can be a bit of a struggle. So it's nice to be able to watch them kind of at any time of day or night. And there's lots of different ways. Let me show you the session builder. Lots of different ways you can sort of segment. And I've done blog posts in the past on how I choose different sessions. You can either go here, by choosing your product of choice, or even your programming language. And the other thing you can do is just kind of search for sessions. So I could search for if I could type today, Microsoft Teams. And then I'll get a whole bunch of Microsoft things. So I might just search for Teams. It might be a more sensible thing to do. And you can kind of see AI-infused omni-channel communications. So I guess that sort of will contain some Teams stuff. Here you go, Azure in Teams. And how to bring your Teams app to Outlook and Microsoft 365. Building an intelligent app for Teams with the new AI library, and the new Microsoft Teams AI library. Again, don't know what that is. I guess we'll find out more as the as build unfolds. Yeah. So, and you can see some of these are they look the same. These are labs. That's why. So these are going to be in-person labs. So you can kind of segment and you can filter. The digital ones are digital only. So if you're attending remotely, it doesn't matter. You can watch these. These ones are digital or in person. You can do both. So lots going on there. So get registered for Build. It's free to register if you're attending remotely. If you're in person, have a great time. Use that opportunity, that in-person opportunity to network. Go and say hello to people. Don't just do the sessions, do the networking. Go and find the people afterwards. Start conversations. Start building friendships. That's the whole value of in-person versus remote, or one of the values of in-person versus remote. So yeah, definitely make the most of your time there, I think. All right. Just one more thing to tell you about. Like I say, I'm going to be in Germany this week at the European SharePoint Conference. That should be lots of fun. I'm talking about Microsoft Teams doing B2C. I'm talking about Azure Communication Services. I'm talking about video conferencing. It should be lots of fun. I've got a cool demo that is audience participation-y, so that should be fun. And it's all good. If you sometimes struggle to keep up with the weekly cadence of the news that's happening, and that's not really what you want. What you want is a monthly update. Just to bring to your attention, I know I've spoken about this in the past. I'll do so every couple of months just to make sure everyone's aware. I do a monthly update briefing, and I do that over on Empowering.Cloud, which is free to sign up to, free to consume all the videos. My May 2023 update is now up. With all the things like a monthly roundup. So if you religiously watch every one of the weeklies, then the monthly is it's not all of that stuff. It's the most important stuff of the things that have happened in that month. So might be a slightly different angle. And if you're not able to keep up with all of the weeklies, then the monthly might give you a better snapshot of what's been going on as well. So that's over at Empowering.Cloud, and I'll put the link in the show notes as well. Like I say, free to consume, and you just need to register and then you can watch it. All right, I think that's everything from me. Yes, have a great week. If you are at ESC, please come and say hello. It'll be great to see you. And whatever else it is you're doing, have a great one, and I will speak to you again next time.